My name is Claudia Tumba, and I'm in South Korea at the moment in a city called Chuncheon, which is about 1 hour away from Seoul. Currently, I am a teacher trainer as well as an English instructor. I started off as an EFL teacher in an elementary school when I first came to Korea. And then my friend, she was just like, there's a job opening. Are you interested? I've been there for about 10 years now. I love training other teachers on how to teach English as a foreign language. It became a passion without me knowing it. So it's been 11 years. I came here when I was 25. I had the quarter life crisis where I was like, I haven't done anything with my life. I need to do something I've never done before. And coming to Korea was really outside of my comfort zone. Within a few months, I applied for the EPIC program, the biggest program here for teaching English. I came for 1 year initially, fell in love, and then ended up meeting my husband. The story kind of goes on. The reason why I ended up doing the course with Moreland is because I came into English teaching with other goals. It wasn't so much to actually teach and improve students' lives. It was more to see Asia. But when I realized that this was becoming a career for me and something serious, I wanted to actually improve my skills. Also, there's not much job security in the long term in just teaching English. So I started to look for other jobs, especially international schools, and I knew I needed a license. I work with mostly freshmen. I love introducing new ideas to them. There's a specific way that things are done in Asia, and there's a huge focus on memorization, but I found that memorization doesn't give students enough independence, and it doesn't take the learning outside of the classroom. I love just coming and just disturbing their whole world, because they've been studying English in a specific way for about 10 years. I focus on how to use songs and stories, and from time to time games. I find that people don't use as much songs and storytelling, especially non-native English teachers. I introduced a lot of that to them, which I absolutely love. There's a YouTube channel called Singing Walrus, and you just want to dance whenever you hear it. A lot of my student teachers use pre-made ESL type songs made specifically for English learners, but a lot of the times they're not enjoyable and they're made so that you can learn English, and so the language is also a little bit awkward. I love to just introduce music that kids love. In terms of stories, I love to use We're Going on a Bear Hunt. I like to tell it using our bodies, using different things that we find around. So for example, when we're going through the river, we use plastic bags to make the water sounds. When we're going through the forest, I'm always picking up sticks around campus because in the classroom, I like break the sticks to make the sound of walking through the forest. So I like to just bring things to life. I always emphasize that English should be enjoyable. It shouldn't just be within the classroom. I also make my own songs. I really like rap. A few years ago, I realized that my 6th graders, because I also used to teach kids, liked a lot of rap. I've been remixing traditional songs into rap songs. I use a rap beat, and instead of singing the song, we rap the song. Invest in training courses. Even if you can't afford that much, look into what it takes to actually teach. When we did the teaching course, I learned about assessing our students, how important that was, and it taught me a lot about myself as a teacher. I used to blame the students a lot. If the students didn't spell properly, I would be like, oh, these students, they're not learning anything, they're not spelling properly. But when we did the course, I was like, I'm not getting enough data in order to know where their problems are, to see how to help them. One thing I found really helpful was to film our classes and review that. I realized there was one particular student who I put in this bracket of, oh, he's silly and doesn't like English. But when we filmed our classes, when I was reviewing it, I realized he was trying to get my attention, and I was too busy helping another student who I put all my focus on. Evaluate yourself, ask other teachers as well to evaluate how you're doing. There's so many great videos on YouTube, lectures on how to teach and things that you should be aware of, such as how to assess your students and how to pick activities that actually improve learning. You can do it even if you haven't gone to school or education. You really can make a difference, but you just need to know how. It made a huge difference. In Module 8, we talked about doing a project. My idea was to create a bilingual book that kind of married both Korean and English together. So it was like a food ABC book. I was pushed into creating deadlines and creating goals. And although I didn't finish the book at the time that the course ended, I actually ended up finishing it and publishing it, which was amazing. It was a huge achievement, and I feel like the course really helped to push me, and that it opened me up to so many things, so many different apps and tools that I didn't know about. One of the success stories was I had a student. She was really struggling with spelling because she had a weak phonics understanding. But when we did weekly spellings, I started to do a weekly spelling activity. It's just 5 minutes, and we go over some of the keywords. I saw a huge jump in her ability to spell because we were doing it more frequently, keeping records and going over common mistakes. Her confidence also grew. As a teacher, I was just like, oh, Jenny, I'm so happy for you, because she came up to me one day. She's like, teacher, I almost got everything right. And I was like, yes, you did. And you're doing really well. And so that was a huge thing for me. I didn't think too much about transitioning from one activity to the next. But when we talked about that, I started to implement more variations of transitions. We started to use the classroom a lot more cleverly. So there were designated spaces for certain activities. So when I wanted them to listen to me and face the board, we would sit towards the front. But when I wanted them to do the spelling, we sat on the floor in a circle. I also introduced a corner where they could use a laptop to work on some of their weaker points. I had a lot of students who needed help with their phonics. So that area, a student, if they finished their work early, could go and just sit by themselves and work. And that helped me a lot, because sometimes I felt like by having something as simple as a computer for them to work at, it gave me a little bit of room to help those who needed physical one-on-one help. Getting feedback from my instructors wasn't always easy. I think that was the most nerve-wracking part, but at the same time it was the most helpful part, because afterwards, the changes that were made, I saw a difference in my student. I started to pay attention to the students that were silly and give them the help that they needed. One more thing I would say that really helped me was knowing more about disabilities and the various types of students that are in the class. I had a very fidgety student that disrupted the lesson. It caused a lot of stop and start when we were looking at different types of students and making learning accessible. Some of my colleagues gave me the idea of having a fidget toy in the classroom and giving that to a student that needs to move a lot or needs to touch something. Simply buying a fidget toy for $1 made a huge difference. Little tips like that really helped. Whereas before, I would just get mad at him. Other students would get mad at him as well. I get really frustrated. I think just learning more about the various types of students, I was really grateful for that. We got given so many resources during the course, which was really helpful. And I still refer back to my notes and things like that. It was a huge commitment. So I would definitely say anyone who wants to do this, you really need to think about freeing up your time and being able to do this. If you are going to do the course, just put it in your mind that this is going to be a full-on commitment, and be prepared. Get your work done early. As soon as it's set, start to work on any assignments. The professors and colleagues are really helpful. If you message your instructor, they will help you too. I couldn't have done it without all of those people. My husband was really helpful as well. Like I said, just a little bit of my book promotion. Because of Moreland, I was able to publish this, which is really awesome. I would love to make more books for teachers and for parents. When I was making this book, the course really helped me to think about my goals, what it was that I wanted to achieve. The name was given to me by one of the instructors. She inspired the name Kadish ABC. I think before I had a terrible name, but she gave me a really good name. Thank you so much, Michelle. I started to have a love for making more books that are geared towards teachers and parents, those who want to teach their children English at home or in school, and then non-natives. I feel like a lot of materials are geared towards native speakers, so the language and amount of detail, just the way it's written, it's geared towards someone who is a native speaker, but I want to make materials for people who are non-natives. So it's just a lot more accessible to them, but they still are able to explore and experience and enjoy and introduce new stuff to their classrooms. One of the other goals that I did the Teach Now course was to start working in an international school. I'm in this place where I really do love training teachers, so that's what I'm enjoying now. Also, I'm grateful to be in this place where I can choose where I want to go, and I felt like the course helped to refresh me and helped to make me a better teacher. It just taught me so much. Even in my training courses, there were so many more things I could add and mention to my students and make them aware of because of what I had learned and experienced as well. I had a really positive experience. I've told other friends who are in Korea about it, and I was like, if you really want to improve your skills, because one of the things that we struggle with, especially I think I am like a Korea teacher now. When we come, I was 25 when I came and I had no clue or idea what I was doing, and it was more, oh, let's just have a gap year. And now it's turned into a gap life. And I felt like this was a great opportunity to get into proper teaching and access better jobs. A lot of English teachers struggle with access to proper jobs. You have to have a license to progress in your career. Otherwise, you will be at the same level forever unless you do something about it. And the other thing I really loved was that I didn't need to move back to England. The fact that it's online was really helpful, and just it made it that I could stay where I wanted to be, but still get to the goal that I wanted. Overall, I enjoyed it.